Good morning and welcome back to the morning session of the Wednesday of 2020 Diggers and Dealers Mining Forum here in Kalgoorlie, Western Australia. I do have a brief announcement before we get into it. Can the winner of the Olympus Tough Camera, being David Nixon, please go to booth 32 before lunch to collect your prize. So our first presenter this morning is Tom Sanders, Executive Chairman of Breaker Resources. Tom is a geologist with over 35 years' experience in exploration, mining and corporate management with a strong emphasis on gold and nickel in Western Australia. Tom listed Breaker on the ASX in 2012 with the objective of finding large new gold systems hidden by transported cover in WA's Eastern Goldfields, where he lived for 23 years. Can you please welcome Tom Sanders?
Thank you very much, Toby, and ladies and gentlemen, for your stamina and being able to make it here today. If you spend any length of time in Kalgoorlie, one thing you soon realise is there's a lot of gold and a lot of cover. Breaker listed in 2012 to look for large new gold systems concealed by transported cover. We found one, 100 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie. This particular project was not in our IPA portfolio, but we learnt a few tricks along the way that helped us find it. If you look on the right, it's located between Carosue Dam and Coroni, two well-known deposits, yet it's totally greenfields. The first thing when you find a greenfields deposit is, how big is it? And am I going to be able to get a mine out of it? Well, we're definitely going to get a mine out of it, but after 250,000 metres of drilling to understand it and generate a resource with a high degree of understanding, we still don't know how big it is. We worked up a base case open pit scenario. Following that drilling, it is 80% indicated at 1.4 grams per tonne in the indicated category. That particular resource, and I stress it's an open pit resource, is in a single large open pit configuration. It's limited by the extent of drilling. In other words, it's still growing. We've done 3 stages of MET. It's now at feasibility level. We could order a plant if we want to. We've got PFS level, enviro, hydro, and other studies. And incidentally, that transported cover that is concealing this is only 5 metres thick. So it's enough to hide it, but not enough to interfere with the mining. In October, after developing that base case, and in the climate at the time, and the market was quite apprehensive about single asset newcomers, and because we had the capacity to grow this thing, we said, right, okay, let's just park this up for a bit and make it grow and expand and further de-risk our development options. So that's exactly what we've done. And we currently have 3 drill rigs going, 2 diamond rigs, 1 RC rig. They're going continuously. We're putting on more people. We're going to add more rigs. Where they're going to work, I'll tell you shortly. Our drilling, RC and diamond drilling, is limited to a 9-kilometre strike distance. Our air core drilling is saying it's part of a 30-kilometre gold system. It is a new gold camp, 100 kilometres in that direction. Since January, we've identified 3 large areas for resource growth, one directly under the open pit resource. What we're seeing is 2 kilometres of high-grade lodes that aren't in the resource. While we're on that subject, a lot of people look at the open pit grade and say, oh, well, that's okay. There's nothing crash hot or something to get too excited about. But that is the grade that you mine out in an open pit if you want to optimise your profit. We change a cut-off and we would happily go mining in a high-grade situation underground on continuous loads. So it will go underground. And we've got 2 kilometres of high-grade loads underneath the open pit resource which aren't in the resource. We've got a new discovery 2 kilometres north of the open pit resource that we're still finding the limits of on a 100-metre section spacing. We've got an emerging Wallaby-style target to the direct east of the open pit resource, and that is in a 50-kilometre zone of strike. We own it 100%, and we have a granted mining lease. So that's the story in one page. What I'll do now is just show you a few drivers, I think, over the next months and years, and then give you a bit of background on the deposit. In a corporate sense, we're run by long-term mining industry types. I'm sure a lot of you will know these guys. There's a mixture of backgrounds. We are well cashed up. We raised 23 million in the last couple of months. Our market cap was 74, it is now about 70. The subtitle of this presentation should be called Back Up the Truck. If you look at the share register, there's some interesting names there. Electrum, think of Thomas Kaplan. That outfit is run by ex-Homestake guys. Ex-Homestake of Plutonic, Darlot, Golden Mile. They understand Archean lodes. They're 10% and good supporters. Number 2 is quite interesting, John Paulson. If you've watched the movie Big Short, it's the same guy. These are astute investors. Franklin Templeton, 6%. They manage 900 and something billion. This is how the market is valuing our indicated ounces. What I'm seeing is deep de-risk value with fantastic growth and upside potential. So the key question is, what are the Americans seeing that large parts of the Australian market isn't? And I'll try to address that question in the next few slides, and then we'll revert to a bit of detail on the deposit. Again, this is a high-grade deposit that's close to surface. For scale, I've got Sydney Harbour Bridge there. It is about 500 metres long. So that you've got a 2.5 kilometre old pit that is still growing. It'll go to at least 200, 250 metres. It'll go to a depth that we decide in terms of strip ratio or profitability or whatever, because below that, we're going to go underground. All of those orange intersections, and you probably can't read them too well, but if you're interested, you'll be able to have a closer look in due course. All of that material is not in the resource. So the indicated, by the way, and you are looking in long section, is shown in orange. The inferred is shown in blue. And the interesting thing about the inferred is you don't get to see all the mineralisation until you at least get to indicated status. So that inferred is only partially delineated. We've been hammering this for several years now, 250,000 metres. It is still early days. So we've got grade. A bit of size dimension, and I recall Homestake's association with Plutonic and Darla. Well, we've got those deposits shown in comparative view with the Bombora deposit. So this is already large, but I'm saying it's still early days. Some emerging shallow gold. This slide's probably my favourite, but the next one is probably more so. You can see the main deposit area in the middle, occupying several kilometres. The south end is still fairly lightly explored. The new discovery, Kopai Crescent, some good hits there. It is 1.5 kilometres at least so far and growing. We have an emerging target on the edge of the granite to the east. The indicative potential is over 12 kilometres. And how do we define that? Well, we've got some RC hits. But look on the right-hand side. So we've got air core on the right-hand side, showing end of hole gold. Now keep in mind, there's very little outcrop. So we use the air core and a lot of multi-element geochem to target our RC. So if you look at, and I'll try and use the pointer here, if you look at that area there, extending south of Copi Crescent, we don't have any RC diamond in there. And that is part of the Claypan shear zone. Then we have 12 kilometres of anomalous gold, silver, tungsten, moly with some early hits next to a cyanide. That's interesting. None of those hits are in the resource. Let's look out again. What we've got now is, okay, still RC diamond on the left, air core on the right. That system over 9 kilometres is wide open. It's sitting within 50 kilometres of strike. The air core drilling is saying that system's more likely 30 kilometres. So we're expecting long-term ongoing discovery. We've got a combination between the Australian situation where we've developed an early production scenario. Now we're laying the American viewpoint, make it grow, de-risk it, and let the shareholders have some fun. Bit of background on the deposit. Bird's eye view looking down, 30% of the deposit is concealed by transported cover. The rest is on land, obviously. Again, we use the wide-spaced air core drilling on structural targets to follow up. Structural, a bit of a discovery story. I'm just glancing at the time here. So those two major structures in black on the left, they control the gold in the area, both to the north of us at Carosue and further south at Coroni. Likewise for us, we like the fact that those two structures are hourglassing, so good place to get on the ground, good complexity. We got on the ground and we found a layered dolerite, fractionated dolerite. Recent paper put out one of the most fractionated dolerites, if not the most fractionated dolerites around. It's simply a good host rock. I won't labour this one, but we spent, the key point is here, after discovering it, we spent 3 years de-risking and understanding and developing a base case development scenario, and it was only at the start of this year that we ventured forth again. I like this slide because we've got all our air core drilling, we've got all our RC and diamond drilling. We've had a discovery every quarter for the last 4 to 5 years. This is a multi-lode deposit. It's like pretty much every other Archean multi-lode deposit, and there are lots of them. And even during the phase of resource drilling, people say, well, why are you delaying your resource? And it was simply because we're finding things. We step back, we find things. Nothing's changed. Start of this year, more air core drilling to outline more targets, more discoveries, some of which are still unnamed. Big time early de-risking. 3-lode geometries, no different to the Golden Mole, and I'm not comparing it geologically in terms of endowment, but similar to Plutonic, similar to Paddington, similar to Bellevue, no different. The hard part's getting to that early understanding, and we've done the hard yards there, and now we're about to seriously grow. So this is the dominant mineralisation style in Australia. Everybody understands cross-sections. The bright green stuff is the dolerite, showing many internal lodes, 150 metres wide. Anybody who's done any open pit mining with an open pit floor that's at least 150 metres wide is going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be a big pit. We've got 100 sections like this. And we can put those loads together. You've only got a continuity problem prior to understanding what's happening. We understand what's happening. These structures are kilometric in scale, kilometric. Not just the steeps, but the flats and the west steppers. Again, 2 kilometres of high-grade material under the open pit resource. We can join up the flats and get good continuity. We can join up the steeps and get good continuity. We've got good, strong feasibility level met. So we've undertaken, we're head on the key elements de-risking, and they're in our favour. So in summary, this is a rare emerging greenfields gold camp 100 kilometres out of town. We've already developed a base case mining scenario and extensively de-risked it. We're well funded, we've got deep value and outstanding growth potential, which I've just tried to highlight. Ongoing news flow, continuous news with at least 3 rigs, and we're adding more. Those extra rigs will work initially outside the 9 kilometres and start to open up the 30 kilometres. And there'll be ongoing resource updates and, I believe, discovery. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Tom.